This scary story tells about a 15-year-old guy from the United States of America. Many classmates disliked him, and local hooligans did not miss the opportunity to mock him in every possible way. The guy himself was very thin, and, as you know, the strong always offend the weak. But these were not all the problems of the guy. His eyesight was very bad, because of which he had to wear glasses with large lenses. Most of the time his classmates ignored him. He attracted their attention only when other guys mocked him. Since the boy was lonely and no one was friends with him, he did not even leave the classroom during recess, but sat at his desk and reread the material prepared for lessons, or stared at his phone. Because of the constant bullying of his peers, he was very shy. In addition to the ridicule of classmates at school, there were other hooligans who constantly beat him, and arranged all kinds of dirty tricks for him. It was a trio of high school students, and it was this trio that was the reason why the boy spent all his free time at recess in the classroom. However, this did not always save the poor guy. Often the hooligans still looked for a way to mock him. It seemed that high school students get a lot of pleasure from all these bullying. On one of the usual school days, these three caught him in the toilet. Apparently they were bored, and they decided to have some fun. The place for bullying weak school children was just perfect, because teachers don't wander into such places. They decided to put the victim of this terrible story about the school with their head in the toilet, and, I must say, this was not the first time they did it. Two high school students lifted the poor guy upside down and plunged his head into the toilet, and the third flushed the water at that time. The boy choked. He did not have enough air, and the hooligans only choked on their disgusting laughter. At some point, the three hooligans realized that something was wrong. The guy stopped resisting. When they pulled him out and tried to put him on his feet, he just flopped lifelessly to the floor. The guys realized that they had done the irreparable. A lifeless body lay in front of them, eyes glazed with horror, and mouth frozen in a last attempt to grab at least some air. There was a deathly silence. Two hooligans stood paralyzed with horror, but the third, the main one in this trio of freaks, quickly rushed to the door and pulled the latch. When the guys calmed down a little, they decided to hide the corpse. None of them wanted to go to jail. The most important bully realized that it was necessary to get rid of the body without attracting attention. That's why he stole a hacksaw from the janitor's pantry, which he used to trim the crowns of trees around the school. Returning to the toilet, they began to dismember the corpse. When the job was done, the hooligans dragged the body parts to the gym, where there was a hiding place behind the wall, which only they knew about. The body parts were hidden in a hiding place, and the hooligans swore to each other that they would never remember this case again. A month has passed. During this time, the school was repeatedly visited by the parents of the missing boy together with the police. However, no one could find any traces indicating his location. But everything changed literally in the blink of an eye. One day, when they came to school and took their seats, the hooligans found decomposing body parts of the one they had so unfairly sent to the next world under the lids of the desks. The school was paralyzed, lessons were not held, and the corridors were packed to the brim with law enforcement officers who arrived at the scene. One of the hooligans broke down during the interrogation and confessed to what he had done. He described exactly all the details of the murder and showed the hiding place in the gym, in which the body parts of the student they killed decomposed for a month. On the same day, an incredible horror story about the school began to creep among the students. Allegedly the boy's spirit was still in the educational institution and sometimes materialized in the toilet. The hooligans were arrested and placed in a pretrial detention center, where for a long time they were subjected to violence by hardened criminals who not only beat these school children, but also did something worse with them. Subsequently, the court awarded the hooligans a sentence of imprisonment for 15 years, but the leader of the gang for his clever plan with the dismemberment of the corpse was given the highest penalty in the state, life imprisonment. Today, this school still works quite in its usual mode. The hiding place in the gym was walled up at the request of the parents of the murdered boy, and a memorial plaque with a description of the crime and punishment was installed next to the wall. However, Since that time, on the darkest nights, the guards are afraid to leave the rooms assigned to them, because the sounds of footsteps, moans and crying can be heard throughout the school coming from the ill-fated toilet, where the corpse of a 15-year-old boy was butchered. The school legend of this school nowadays says that if you go into that toilet, look in the mirror and say "I know who killed you," then for a split second the image of the murdered boy will appear behind your back.